What's up, guys? Welcome into the Packers Total Access pregame show as we get ready to face the Los Angeles Rams out in LA. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. We won't even talk about the pregame festivities that just went on in here as I hopped on screen. And Tim may or may not have had some Tupac blasting in the background. And there may have been a bandana involved, too. I ain't going to lie, man.
We're carrying that G all the way to L.A. today, though. It's still nothing but a G thing. Let's go.
So, that was hop on camera. First thing I see is Tim in a backwards white bandana with some Tupac blasting in the background.
Gotta love it. You gotta love it, man.
Are we going live like that? Is this really happening?
No, that was just the vibe, man. We had to set the vibe nice and early, man. We had to bump a little Tupac, man. You know, Tupac, LaFleur, and the boys going out to LA to get some work in today. So we got to support our boys out there, man. You know, when you're in LA, man, you gotta keep a gangster. You can't afford to take any chances there sleeping on anybody. So don't sleep on the Rams. Make sure it's all gas, no break. And I got full faith, man. Tupac LaFleur is in full effect, man. I can't wait to see what the officials try to do to him today when he calls a timeout. We'll see.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I'll tell you who else was keeping it gangster earlier today. Tim brought this to my attention. Miss Annie Agar on Twitter tweeted this little gem out as obviously the Jets lost to the Vikings. Aaron threw, I think, at least one pick. I think he threw a pick.
He threw 3 picks.
3 picks. Wow. Yeah, so Aaron, rough day at the office against those Vikings. You can look at this one of two ways, Tim. You can look at it and go, man, the Vikings are legit, which I think we would all agree they are. And you can also go, the Packers only lost to them by 2 points after being down 28-0. Tells you a lot about this team that the Packers have. So I'm excited, man. I know people get frustrated. They would much rather see everybody in the NFC North kind of fall flat on their face. I don't have an issue with that stance. But the fact that the NFC North is one of, if not the best divisions in all of professional football is exciting to me, man. You're going to see some darn good games this year. And for those on the pod, it's basically from The Office, and it's Michael Scott looking over at Toby in disgust. It's got his name. It's got Aaron Rodgers on Toby's chest, and it's got the Lions, Bears, and Packers logos staring at Toby like, what the heck's your problem, dude? How you going to get boat raced like that? So what did you think of that game, Tim? I imagine you and Mrs. G watched that Jets-Vikings matchup from London. Is that right?
Yeah, we did, of course. You know, you're rooting against the Vikings more than anything, right? And, of course, seeing a bunch of former Packers on the field is, you know, always a treat. Really thought for a second we were going to see that comeback, man. You know, they found a way with their defense, just like we did last week, to kind of stay in that game, hang around. Offense finally got some things going, but yeah, there's clearly some issues there with the Jets. But you know, they gave it a go, man. 12 looked really good. I'm sorry, he's 8 now. We'll call him 8. 8 looked really good out there for the Jets for a while, but had a scare. I mean, I thought for sure I saw his last snap as a pro quarterback. He took a nasty sack in the first half, but he recovered from it, and they gritted it out. They just ultimately couldn't get it done there. But yeah, 3 picks, real uncharacteristic of Aaron Rodgers for sure.
Yeah, you know, in watching the game, I actually tweeted out a video of the Jets getting called for pass interference on Justin Jefferson when Justin Jefferson basically runs to the top of the stem of his route with both hands, shoves the DB, clips him under the outside shoulder pad, tosses him off, runs outside on an out route, ball falls incomplete, pass interference on the defense. I was like, it's going to be a long day at the office for the Jets. And it was, man. It was every time they threw to Justin Jefferson, pass interference, defensive holding, pass interference. So you take away half of those penalties, probably got a little bit different ball game there because I think they only ended up winning by, was it 6? Am I thinking right, Tim?
Yep.
Yep. Close game. I actually jumped in on the live bet there, took the Jets plus 9.5, and we squeaked out the win. So that was a nice little victory. But let's do this, man. Let's get into the important information, then we'll come back and talk about what's going on around the league here as we get ready for the Packers to face the LA Rams with a 3:25 kickoff Central Time, of course. Tracy Wolfson tweeted this out. Cornerback Jair Alexander will be out once again, dealing with the quad/groin injuries. Looked good in warm-ups, but hopes to be back the next game. So we're going to be without Ja today, Tim. Now the big question then shifts to, is Carrington Valentine going to play, right? Well, we've got the inactives here, And that's one of the big notes. All right, Tom Silverstein tweeted out, cornerback Jair Alexander-Groen is out versus the Rams, but cornerback Carrington Valentine is back. Tight end Luke Musgrave is active as well. So your inactives for the Green Bay Packers here are Christian Watson, Jair Alexander, Brenton Cox Jr., Jordan Morgan, Travis Glover, and Devontae Wyatt. So the three that we were like, man, hope we can get one or two of these guys back. All three are inactive. Now, listen, we know this Rams team is beat up. It doesn't mean there's no such thing as a guaranteed win in the NFL. Going to have to show up and show out to pull out a victory on the road here today. But this kind of sucks with these three key players definitely being out this week. We knew Devontae was going to be out. We had a good idea Christian was. Really was hoping Ja was going to go. What do you think about that information there, Bo?
Yeah, it sucks, right? What else can we say? Even Devontae Wyatt, we kind of knew it was probably not looking good, but we were holding on to hope. I think in this matchup right here, I mean, that's a big void right there on that D-line. Devontae Wyatt's been playing his best football as a Packer these last, 2 to 3 weeks, really. So we're going to miss him in the lineup for sure. And Jair with the groin, that's just, I don't know, man. He dealt with this kind of crap last year, right? And as much as Ja is the type of guy that has an emphasis on his yoga routine and his stretching and things like that, it's kind of a shocker that the groin is kind of keeping him out. Although I did hear that the vibe was he looked pretty good today pregame, and that they just decided as precautionary they're going to go ahead and hold him out today. Probably because we got the news about Carrington Valentine coming back to the lineup. So I would anticipate that they're probably going to put CV out there early and often, I would think. I don't know if he's going to be your starter today, possibly. Do you go Valentine and Stokes as your starting corners? We'll have to see. And then obviously Christian Watson being out, guys in that receiver room have got to step up. We're minus him and Rome today, so we'll see the depth of this receiver room. But all in all, I guess good news in with the bad, right, Clayton? I mean, we lost Ja. Devontae Wyatt's out. Christian Watson's out. But, hey, we got Musgrave active, which is going to help us a little bit stretch the field in the pass game. And we've got Carrington Valentine back on defense. So it's not all bad news, right?
Yeah, the way I see the cornerback position, as I throw in a last second live bet here, I apologize. Just buttoning some things up here. When it comes to the secondary, kind of the way I see that, how healthy is Carrington? That's going to be the question. Is he 100%? That's, to me, we don't truly know that. I can't imagine they would put him out there if he wasn't 100%. But do you agree with that? I think he's probably got to be as close to 100 as you could get.
Yeah, up there, right? Anything else is negligible. As long as you're close, maybe give it a go. But if there's any doubt, I don't think you risk it.
Yeah, and I think if it was something where Carrington wasn't 100%, they might go ahead and put Ja out there and have Carrington sit, that type of thing. So
exactly.
If that's the case, and it's going to be Stokes and Carrington Valentine on the outside. Now, we showed in the game plan, watching the tape, all that good stuff, that the big thing that you got to watch for with this Rams offense as far as passing is they love to hit right there in that 10 to 20 range, 10 to 20 yard range. They love running play action digs. Very similar offense to the Packers. Obviously, they run a lot of 11 personnel. It's like either 81 or 83% of the time they're in 11 personnel. So got to be aware of that play action dig to Atwell. Also the play action out routes to Atwell. It's just right in that 10 to 12 yard range. The in-breaking digs, the out-breaking outs, obviously, with Atwell. If you can really key in on taking that dig away and make Stafford work the sideline, keep everything in front of you. And obviously you want to try to load that box just a touch and make sure Kyron Williams doesn't get going, because if they jump out to an early lead and control the clock, it's going to be an uphill battle for the Packers. I think, though, the Packers have a really good shot at controlling every aspect of this game. You just can't rule out Matt Stafford and Sean McVay. And listen, they're a wounded dog right now. They're being talked about as one of the worst teams in the league at the moment. We talked about all the rankings last night, both defensively and offensively. They're somewhere around 18, 19, depending on which metric you look at. But when you look at the defense, I mean, they're 30th, 31st, 32nd in just about every category. So sometimes you get a team like that, you got to be careful, man, because they will. They've been reading the headlines too, and they'll come out and play pissed off, no doubt. So.
Exactly. That's what we talk about. You can't take anyone for granted, right? Your record is not who you are. Your current trend is not where you're going to ultimately end up. We see this a lot of times in NFL seasons. You'll see teams go off to a hot start and then they evaporate down the stretch and they don't even make the playoffs. You see teams start 0-4 and find a way to get it together, and they're in the mix as a wild card. So any given Sunday, like we talk about, Clay, and the Rams, like we said, in some of our pregame analysis this week on past shows, we talked about, this is a Super Bowl champion head coach. You've got probably a first ballot Hall of Famer quarterback. They're banged up. We're banged up. We're both looking for a win. Yeah, man, you can't take this game for granted. The game's not played on paper, right? It's played between the lines. So we'll see what happens today.
Coach Lynn said, with a wounded dog, you must put them to sleep. You know what I'm saying? There you go. So
he's right. It's on us, right? We got to go out there and get it done. We got to play our game, execute our game plan, right? It's not about whether the Rams are struggling or banged up or bad on defense right now. Like, none of that matters. We got to go out and get it done today, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Greg Rice says, hi from the grocery store. I go to all the exotic places. There you go. So, let's go. Let's kind of dive into the chat here a second, Tim, as we've already covered the inactive. Actually, let's hold off on the chat. Let's go to the inactives for the Rams. They just came in too. Let's just kind of make sure we didn't overlook anything. I apologize. It's kind of light font here. This came in from Jordan Rodriguez. Rams inactive list, obviously Cooper Kupp. You got Trey White, Cody Schrader, Brennan Jackson, Jaron Christian Sr., Deshaun Johnson, Stetson Bennett, but he is designated as the emergency quarterback. Darius Williams, Jonah Williams, both up. White was not on the injury report other than his typical Friday rest day. So are they talking about Tre'Davious White? Am I thinking right? That's their most veteran corner, if I remember.
I think Trey White, right? That one.
Yeah, let me go to the
I'll tell you what, though, Stetson Bennett, man, that sounds like a country singer if I ever heard it right there. That's a country boy name.
I tell you what, he does interviews like a country singer too. I don't know if you ever seen that, but the day after he won the national championship with the good old Georgia Bulldogs, he showed up on Good Morning America drunker than a skunk. That was interesting. So
here's a guy.
Yeah, my man was he was in the tank, no doubt about it. Let's do this real quick. I'm pretty sure that's got to be Tre'Davious White that we're talking about. Yeah. So Tre'Davious White is out. That's interesting. Again, he's not played great this year. Obviously, a 50.2 according to PFF. Plays everything out wide. He's wide cornerback, 216 snaps. Only been in the box 32 times. But again, though, man, for a secondary that's already playing pretty bad, that's even though he's got that low grade, he's the one that I would go. If he gets hot, he might be able to pick a pass or two off. They're really banged up in the secondary.
They're banged up big time. I was just going to say, like, low grade or not, I mean, he's a veteran presence back there on a team that is just absolutely decimated in their secondary. So losing him, that's huge.
And that's not listed here on PFF's injury report, but like Jordan Rodriguez was just saying, that kind of came in at the last second. So interesting that was the case there. And it's got to be who they're talking about there, right? Trey White. Yeah. Unless there's another Trey White on the team, which I'm not aware of. So if Tre'Davious White is out, actually, let me just search for that. Let's go White out today and just make sure. I'd like to get double confirmation rather than search through their whole roster. But
yeah, a lot of this is just, popping off right now too, right? We're starting to see some of the pregame stuff come in through the various sources. So
get multiple confirmation here too. Tre'Davious White inactive for the Rams today, ranked as one of the worst out of all qualified corners in the league. A good move given White's play this year. So they seem to think it was an upgrade that he's not playing. So
wow,
been a rough year for Tre'Davious White, no doubt about it. So again, as we take a quick look at that again, so that's pretty much it. That's the only surprise from their standpoint, the Rams. So Packers got a good shot of pulling this one out, but you still got to play fundamentally sound football, man. You got to win the turnover battle. You got to control the middle eight and control those explosives. Don't let Stafford get hot. Many people are down on their receivers, like, okay, they don't have Cooper Kupp. They don't have, obviously, Puka Nacua. But the reality, guys, Tutu Atwell is the 12th highest graded receiver in the league right now. Basically, Atwell and Whittington, both their receivers, are graded higher than every receiver on our roster that isn't named Jaden Reed. So you can't overlook that. You can't. They're playing good ball. And that's obviously Matthew Stafford, being the veteran quarterback he is, reading the defense and getting those guys open. I'm sure there's choice routes involved within Sean McVay's system. So again, I just don't want to overlook this game, Tim. Can't overlook it, man. We've talked about it all week. You've got to load the box against Kyron Williams. That's what the Next Gen Stats Insight suggests. Also, you want to take away, like I said, that dig and that out route from Atwell, really keying on that. They want to go vert and test it. Let them go vert and test it. My opinion, run a lot of cover 2, a lot of Tampa 2. Try to stay away from man coverage a little bit today, please, for the love of God. I mean, you see how our cornerbacks are playing. Stokes 59.1, Ballantyne 49.9. Let's play some zone defense today. Keep everything in front of us, and just if it's got to be an ugly win, it's got to be an ugly win.
I agree 100% because somewhere out there on this Rams team is one of these guys that isn't grading out well, knows they're going to get a lot of targets, and is going to step up and try and have themselves a hell of a game. And with a quarterback like Matt Stafford, man, you can't make mistakes against a guy like that. You just can't. And that's what our defense has been kind of guilty of doing, right? We talked about drop picks, missed opportunities, procedural things, rotational things, guys getting picked out of plays and man coverage. I think you're right. If we stay away from the man as an approach in general, obviously you're going to pepper it in situationally, but if you stay out of that man defense and play heavy zone today, I think we have a real chance to potentially boat race this team, man. If our defense plays mistake-free football and we keep handing Jay Money and the boys the ball on offense, I think we're going to put 30+ on the board, no problem today. So go Pack, go, and stay out of man-to-man.
Yes, please, for the love of God. R.E. Iron Miner says, heavy run game. There you go, man. Control that clock, right? Let's see. Damon Stewart says, just saw Jones left the game. Granted, things could have played out differently. Imagine the mess our running back room would be right now. If you're saying if we had Jonesy and he went down, we would still have Josh Jacobs because it wasn't we got to pick one, right?
We definitely probably wouldn't have Emmanuel Wilson though, right?
Right. It would be Emmanuel Wilson would still be on the roster. The question I think would come. Well, it comes down to Marshawn Lloyd.
Yeah,
you would have drafted Marshawn Lloyd or not. I think if you would have drafted Marshawn Lloyd, Emmanuel Wilson would have been that risky player to try to throw in the practice squad, and someone could have swooped him up. But I'm with you on Emmanuel Wilson, man. I'm excited about him. But it sucks to see Jonesy get hurt. But at the same time, this is kind of what Damon's saying here, I'm sure. This was one of the reasons why, Goody was hesitant to go, what, is it really worth it to tie up that much cap space into a second running back this year when he really liked what he had in Josh Jacobs. So, again, we don't wish injury on anyone, but it just he kind of seen this coming, Tim.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a re-aggravation of that existing issue because it's hip and hamstring again with him. Pulled up on one of those last year. We lost a chunk of games from Aaron Jones last year due to something very similar. I'm not sure if it's the same leg or not, but things happen. One thing we know that's why never more than a 1-year deal was really on the table. Maybe 1 to 2 years, regardless of where he was going. And it's just, you're getting to that stage in your career. You've been playing the game a while. You're a running back. You take a lot of abuse. You're utilized in the pass game and the run game, receiver, blocker, rusher. We talked about workload with him, and the Vikings have been utilizing the crap out of Aaron Jones ever since he landed there. So it's not a surprise. It was good to see him back out, walk back out on the field, finish the game on the sideline with his teammates like a true dog, never took the pads off, stayed out there. And, we'll see. We wish the best for him until we play them again this year, obviously.
Absolutely.
But it shouldn't be a big shocker. That was one of the concerns you had with him, durability in the long term.
Yeah, and it looks like the latest that I've seen here about an hour ago, Alec Lewis tweeted out on Twitter, Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell on Aaron Jones's hip injury, quote, he was kind of feeling it early on and tried to work through it. I think it was one of those things that as it started to take a turn, hopefully we avoided anything major by getting him out of there. So it might have been a little more preventive than anything. So
veteran player knowing his body, right? He knows how far he can push it. He felt a little something and tried to play through. And the minute he knew he couldn't anymore, that's it. Stop. Smart.
Yeah, and someone else had tweeted out Kevin O'Connell on Aaron Jones's right hip injury. Quote, keeping my fingers crossed that hopefully will be short term. So sounds like it's just too early to have any great details on that, but they may have avoided something big there. Let's see. Greg Rice in the chat says the Bears are looking pretty good versus a not so good team. I hope we do the same later. Yeah, so the Bears, they showed up big time today. As a matter of fact, let me just drop this down real quick, Tim, and we'll get some of these scores up real quick. The game's still going on. And I think they're up by 20 right now. This is what you talk about with Caleb Williams. Like this dude, he's got elite arm talent. The question is, can he hold it together mentally, right? Because he has kind of been a little bit of an odd cat drawing attention to himself all the time. But you can see here the Bears are leading 30-10 currently in that game. And Caleb came out and played pretty darn well, if I remember correctly, too. So far, 17-25, 268 with 2 touchdowns, no picks. He's only been sacked 1 time. So got to kind of keep our eye, obviously, on the division rivals here. Anything you want to add to that with the Bears? That defense is solid, man. They really are. Now, Panthers are a pretty bad team, too. So.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's part of it, right? But, I think the Bears, too, we know they still suck, obviously. The rivalry is still alive and well. But you'd be a fool to think that the NFC North is not arguably the most competitive division in the NFC right now. Maybe in the league. It certainly belongs in the conversation. So you know what that tells me, Clay? We're not getting any help from any of these teams this year. So we can sit here and look at the scores and, hey, it'd be nice if they, the Vikings lost today. Well, that didn't happen. It'd be nice if the Bears dropped one today. Well, that looks like that's not going to happen. Detroit again, probably going to get a dub. I don't think that, it's a foregone conclusion that things in our division may stack up with, teams winning or losing games that help us or benefit us. We have to do everything we can to control our own destiny, which is just keep winning ball games because our division rivals continue to win ball games as of late. And I think that's a trend that's going to keep happening throughout the season. So keep ourselves aware of what's going on in the division, but we need to focus on our work and our business as a football team, I think, really going forward.
Yeah, it's early, man. Again, you don't look at each week this early in the season and go, okay, yeah, we can afford to lose it. That's not how they operate, right? The goal is treat every week as if it's a 1-game schedule, a 1-game season, and at the end of the day, it comes down to win 10 and you're in typically, right? Sometimes with the extended game, obviously it may take 11 now, but there's been teams get in at 9 wins, right? As a matter of fact, there was a team that got in a few years ago that had 8 wins, right? But win 10 and you're in. I heard Mike McCarthy say that one time, and that really kind of rings true. Try to go 3-4 on each quarter of the season. Now, we went 2-2 this first quarter of the season here. Got to right the ship and see if you can get back on track. Starting the season, I was saying 10-13 wins is kind of what I've seen. Right now, I'm at 9-12.
Right.
That's kind of the ballpark I see them in. So having a chance to make it into the playoffs again, obviously with one of, if not the youngest teams in the league, it's absolutely huge. So Aaron Jones' stats on the day before he left the game was 7 carries for 29 yards. He had a long of 9 when it comes to that. Sam Darnold came back down to earth a little bit, 14 of 31 for 179 yards, 1 interception. He was sacked 4 times. They lost 32 yards on those sacks there. And, of course, like you said with Aaron, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks on the day. Garrett Wilson, though, really heated up, 13 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown. If you guys have him on your maybe on your fantasy team. So let's see what else we got in the chat here real quick. Let's see. Coach Lynn, need a big day from Jordan today. It does kind of feel like, Tim, the stage is kind of set for Jordan in this passing game to get going real quick. It's a weaker secondary. There's no two ways about it. Obviously, you're without Watson, you're without Dobbs. That's the thing that kind of sets you back a touch. But when you look at it, I could see them putting up some pretty gaudy numbers. At the same time, like many people are saying, you lean on the run, control the clock. Don't try to get too cute out there because you don't have a whole lot of depth with the wide receiver position right now. But I'm telling you, man, Jaden Reed and Tucker Kraft, to me, those feel like two that could have pretty good days. And don't sleep on Tavion Wicks. That dude's pissed off, Tim. He's pissed off at those drops last week. Caught 2 touchdowns last week. Is still pissed off. Pretty good place to be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. That guy, remember, Tay Wicks is the guy that basically never took a day off since, the end of the season last year when we got back from the 49er game. The guy went right to work basically. And it shows, maybe off to a little shaky or slow start, but, losing QB1 in the first game of the season, that'll throw off any kind of rhythm you may have established throughout camp. I understand it. But yeah, Tay Wicks is a guy that you cannot afford to sleep on him. Hopefully the Los Angeles Rams decide to do that today, or they're so busy dealing with Tuck Norris and Jaden Reed and the boys that Tay Wicks can do what Tay Wicks does, which is find those soft spots in zone coverage, kind of sit down, find a place to be open, and create after the catch. So I'm excited to see what he can do, because honestly, like you said, two tutters. It wasn't like some breakout massive phenomenal performance from him last week. And I think he demands more. Really, we look at the tape, he could have had 4 touchdowns in that game. So it's going to be cool to see Tay Wicks out there hungry to make an impact in this offense today.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Chris in the chat says, we need a dub today. Y'all, no distractions. There you go. So, Tim, don't put the bandana on. All right, no distractions today. Okay, we don't need that. LaFleur, I think LaFleur, honestly, man, he's undefeated, I believe, against his mentor, Sean McVay, or maybe not a mentor, good friend, I should say. For those of you who don't know, they started coaching together all the way back in Washington, where Matt LaFleur was the quarterback's coach and Sean McVay was the tight ends coach. And Kyle Shanahan was the OC. And I'm pretty sure that was where they were at when they had Mike McDaniel, which is obviously the head coach in Miami. I think he was one of the running game coordinators or something like that, kind of a young slappy coming up in the business. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. Again, I think said it all this week, Tim, when they asked LaFleur, have you spoke to your brother? He said, nope, not going to. And then he said, nah, I'll talk to him. We're just not talking ball. Like it ain't happening. You gotta, they become nameless, faceless shadows out there on the field, right? That the week you play them, you want to embarrass them. Put the bandana on, put on a little California love, and go out there and take care of business. Nick McSwain says, I feel comfortable with Valentine. If he's healthy, I do too, Nick. I don't think it's a downgrade. Like obviously everyone in the cornerback room is a downgrade from Jair. I think we would all agree with that. But as far as like whether it was going to be Ballantyne or Valentine, it's definitely not a downgrade. I would say Valentine probably is a little bit better than Ballantyne, at least in this defense and what we've seen with a very small sample size. Because Valentine, he's my boy. I rooted for him last 2 years. I thought he was kind of that Rudy Ford type player. I thought he was underappreciated when his number was called. He stepped up. Man, last week, biting on that. When you're in cover 3 and you bite on that double move and get cooked for that touchdown early, that's one of, if not the main reasons that team was able to pull out a dub, getting off that early start there. You feel pretty comfortable with Valentine, though?
I do, too. I do, to an extent. I mean, coming fresh off of this this stint, right? I mean, how many games has he missed? He's missed the last 3, correct? Did he play in week 1? I'm trying to think.
You're talking about
Valentine?
Yeah, he pretty much he played. Which week was it? He played 1 week. I think it was week 2.
Okay.
When he was on pace to have more snaps than our boy Eric Stokes, and that caught us by surprise. Let me pull up PFF real quick, and I'll tell you that.
Okay. I am comfortable too, though. I feel what Nick McSwain is saying, especially considering what's going on with the Rams receiver room right now in their whole situation. Obviously, if Cooper Kupp was on the field, I'd probably feel a little bit differently. And that's not a knock on Valentine. It's just, reflection of the workload in front of you. I think today with, Atwell and Robinson and these guys, I feel good about Stokes. I feel good about Valentine, our secondary. Obviously we, got the X factor back there and Javon Bullard. And so I think we're okay as a secondary unit as a whole. And I'm excited to see CV playing football again because, he's a guy that we kind of vacillate. We're high on him and then we get low on him, and we're high on him and we get low on him. That guy's due for a hell of a game. So, and he's going to be ramped up to play ball after missing these last few weeks. So,
yeah, definitely. So Valentine, yeah, he played in week 2. He played week 1. I was trying to get the snaps. Only 9 snaps in week 1 against Philly. Week 2, 32 snaps, 65.9. He had a tackle grade of 78.8, coverage rate of 64.6. And then that's the game I think he got hurt in and had to leave. So he hasn't played since week 2. So he's missed the last 2 weeks just to kind of get double confirmation there. Awesome. So there's that. Like I said, I think as long as he's 100% healthy, I'm okay with him being out there. Jason, you in the chat says, things have been shaky with the team. I sure hope we have a get-right game that improves team morale. Team morale is a real thing, man. There's no two ways about it. And this would be a good game to get right on, right? Because, the Packers have struggled to travel, it seems like. Maybe you correct me if I'm wrong, Tim. It kind of feels like they're one of those teams that when they have to go to the West Coast, under Matt LaFleur, they've really struggled to kind of get up for the game. Maybe we could put that to bed today too.
So. I really hope so. I've been manifesting that all day. Like I said, bumping nothing but Tupac classics and being fired up. Be pumped up, man. Right? What was the old phrase that we had when it comes to tough, games on the road and things like that?
Our guys better wake up with their piss hot, like I said before. So.
That's exactly right, sir. That's exactly right. Nick McSwain says, feel like Narvison's going to have a good game. I'll tell you this, Nick, perfect kicking conditions for Narvi today, right? Might be a good opportunity for him to get right as well. It was interesting during the week where the long snapper had made a comment and mentioned, I think Narvison actually mentioned it when he met with the media at his locker, that the long snapper, had mentioned to him, hey, I'm noticing your plant legs, pretty far out, like you're shortchanging your step into the kick, and that might be why you're pushing it wide right. I'm interested to see if all of a sudden things get corrected today. Now, hopefully he doesn't have to attempt one kick and we get that red zone percentage up, right? That's the overall goal. But yeah,
see,
Nick,
you're thinking like me. That was my first reaction. Hopefully he has a great game of just kicking extra points all day long.
7 for 7 on extra
7 for 7 on extra points. Let's go.
So yeah, that'd be great. So we'll see, man. We'll keep an eye on Narvison for sure. 2-0 for this. This game will be very interesting. Both teams missing key players. Typically, that pendulum swings to quarterbacks, right? Yep. Who's got the better quarterback? I'm sure there's plenty of Packer fans that would say Jordan Love is the better quarterback than Matt Stafford. I have a hard time just saying, yes, that's the case. Obviously, on a week-to-week basis, things can change. Things can switch up pretty quick. I'm not a Matthew Stafford hater at all. So for me, I would say the stage of Matthew Stafford's career and where Jordan is right now, coming back from the knee injury, still kind of getting his feet on him, maybe a push there. So now it comes to head-to-head head coaches. That's tough too. I can understand if people say Matt LaFleur is a better coach than Sean McVay, but I just like the quarterback position now, I can't just blatantly say yes, that's the case when one guy has 2 Super Bowl appearances, one of which he wins a ring, and the other one hasn't made it to the Super Bowl yet. I'm a very result-driven type of fan. Give respect where respect's due. But I don't know, man. If I have one game to win and you got to pick between those 2 coaches to scheme up a game planning, I think it comes down to this way. Let me put it this way, Tim. Play caller, Matt LaFleur, hands down, drawing up the passing game. Yeah. Overall head coach, I might lean towards Sean McVay. It's pretty close, though. How do you feel about that as far as missing key players and coming down to quarterback play and head-to-head there for the head coaches?
I would agree with what you said. Really, not to be boring, but I feel the same way. I think it's kind of a push in a lot of these scenarios, especially with the quarterback situation right now. I would agree with that. I think there is a potential for this to be a really competitive, close football game. And, we're all talking about, the cards are aligned. Maybe we could get a boat race in here and, beat the Rams, 42-7 or something. That would be great. But let's be real. You look at the head coaching, you look at these quarterback matchups, even look at some of our defensive matchups, particularly the O-line against their D-line. There are other factors in this game that would lead me to believe it might be closer than some of us are willing to admit. But I do see the Packers coming out on top today. Big game for us, and we're going to get right for sure.
Yeah, Coach Lynn says, is Edgerrin Cooper available today? He is, Coach Lynn. It sounds like he's going to be good to go. So I want to see more of him on the field, man. It's kind of like how I felt with Jordan Love. If there's no additional risk of injuring that knee further, let's get the rust knocked off early. Yeah. And right now it's like you see all the talent that Cooper has, the physical ability. I want to know sooner rather than later, is this second-round pick going to be a good pro? Get him out there. Let him cut his teeth. Let him make the mistakes, all the things that we talk about. and see what you got there, man. That's kind of how I see Edger and Cooper. You agree, Tim? Like we're going to be in 11 over 80% of the time today, at least the first 4 weeks of the season would suggest that. I would much rather him be next to Quay rather than McDuffie or someone else. Get him out there and let him get the majority of the snaps.
I 100% agree. We talked about Cooper. He's got very good instincts. We talk about FBI, football intelligence, football instincts, the ability to sniff things out. However, we know he's still trying to grasp this defense as a rookie in this league. And the only way he's going to ever do that is by being thrown into the fire and getting him reps, getting him snaps. We saw that with Quay Walker. It's taken Quay Walker a while to kind of come into his own. We've talked about him a lot. Same thing with Cooper. Cooper hasn't had the ability to just play, 50 snaps a game. Like it's just not happening. So I think if we see a little bit more of him today, that's going to bode well for the Packers in the future, as well as his development, because he's an athletic freak. There's no secret to it. It's just a question of, like you said, what is the ceiling if there is one? We're never going to identify it if we never send him out there. So, I hope he's had progressively more snaps in the last, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks, right? We've seen his snap counts kind of rise. Hopefully today with this matchup, like you said, I hope we see more Edgerrin Cooper. 25 plus snaps today would be nice for him.
Yeah, no doubt. Let me see if I can pull up linebacker real quick and give you an answer on that as far as Cooper's snap count per game. Defense. All right. So week 1, 11 snaps. Week 2, 7 snaps.
Nope. Not going to do it. Not going to do it.
Week 3, 18. And then week 4, 21. So you're
21, right?
Yeah.
So today, 25 or more. I'm being a little conservative in my approach. Maybe he's got 30 or more. That'd be great.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not just about him and testing him out. It's about, like you said, we've got to see where he fits in as an asset to this defense, because he's an asset. You look at him last week, man. Fumble recovery. He had, I believe, he got credit for at least half a sack in that game. Some quarterback pressures and. Look pretty good in coverage too for a rookie linebacker. So I think we got to see more of Coop out there for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Dylan in the chat said, hoping we get a big get right game from Stokes today. Amen to that. Coach Lynn says, I think you're right, Tim. Sit Ja now that Valentine is good to go. Kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone there. Jason, they're beat up, but so are we. That's really a very true statement. Blake B says Rams receivers will be Tutu, DeMarcus Robinson, and Whittington, which we kind of Tutu, man. That's a kind of a tough name, man. That's a tough son of a gun being raised in the United States of America named Tutu. So bet he's tougher than a $2 steak, no doubt about it. Go Pack 84 fan says, heard that Hafley guaranteed Gary will have a big game today. I hope he does, and it's a big possibility for X to get his 5th pick in 5 games. Would love to see both of those. The comment that I think you're referring to, Hafley didn't say, Gary's going to have a big game, I guarantee it, or anything. He didn't pull out a Joe Namath, but he did talk about, hey, like we got to figure out a way to get him singled up more. It's just, again, I don't want to keep hitting on the same topic we've hit on all week, but the coaches, everyone keeps saying, yeah, we got to figure out ways to scheme him into isolation positions. Then you got one portion of the fan base that seems to think Rashawn Gary all of a sudden has forgot how to rush the passer. And you turn on the tape, you see the chips everywhere. You look at the data, you see the chips being chipped 5th most in the league, ahead of Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons, a couple other edge defenders as well that are considered elite. I'm not saying Gary's playing elite. I don't think he is this year. But I like the idea that Hafley's really trying to get him in spots where he can, be a little more comfortable in a one-on-one position and absolutely eat. We showed tape all week long, diving into it on NFL Pro, and how Gary is collapsing the pocket and getting the hand in the throwing lane, and he's so close to hitting home with sacks. The Quay Walker, if Quay doesn't hit on that Will Fire, Gary's getting that sack. There was another sack in which, too, it was Gary ran a stun inside. He would have had the sack, but somebody beat him to it. He's really, really close. What I don't want to happen, Go Pack 84 fan, is us get too statistically focused on we got to get Gary the results. The number one goal is what makes sense schematically. I would much rather have 0 sacks and win football games if that's what the scheme calls for that week to get it done.
Yeah.
Last 2 weeks hasn't felt like that, So, again, I think this week I would feel really good, Tim, about turning the interior guys loose. Let's stop with the run stunting, and let's really let Kenny Clark, let Carl Brooks pin their ears back and go. And look, if they gash us in the middle, we can always adjust. Let's start off collapsing that pocket on Sam Bradford or on Stafford. I keep wanting to say Sam Bradford. That's a blast from the past.
No, that's so true though. Like you're saying, because you're hoping for Matty Stafford to make those mistakes that he's been known to make, which is trying to thread the needle, or maybe he's got to get that ball out quick and you get an overthrow, or you create pressure and you force him to throw it away. It doesn't always have to be sacks, like you said, Clayton. And I agree with that approach too, especially early and often. Get after them, and then we can always kind of settle back and focus more on the run fit if we're getting blown up in the run game. But I agree, man. Let the big dogs eat up front, man, for sure.
Definitely. All right, let's see here. Venom Slash in the chat says 5 picks in 5 games for McKinney. Can he keep the streak alive? I think he can. Now, here's the thing. He keeps doing this, teams are really going to start to throw away from him. And that's where, if you are in that cover 3 look, or even that Tampa 2, that it's still wild to me, Tim. We broke the tape down. That interception week 1 where they were in Tampa 2, he had deep half, and he comes over and makes a pick on the seam. That just doesn't happen, bro. I watched football for a long time. That's Ed Reed top stuff right there.
Really legendary. Like you said, you can throw away from him all you want. What are you going to do when he comes across the field and makes a play on the ball anyway? Good luck with that approach. And also the fact that, let him deal with Javon Bullard and Evan Williams and, the other talent we have in our secondary. I'm sure we'll talk about our boy, KT Oladipo, being available. We've got some
Home Depot, Oladapo.
I think he's still got the gold hair, right? I don't know if he went back green or gold. I think he's doing gold today.
We seen the gold hair about 10 feet away firsthand as they were getting on the bus down in Nashville. It's pretty pimp. I was going, I wonder if I can pull that off.
Here's the guy.
Ain't no way. He looks way cooler than me, man. That dude, it was awesome. You seen him cut the corner, like, know who that guy is.
Yes, sir. It's going to be great. Hopefully he sees some snaps today, right? It'd be nice to see him out on the field, even if it is just special teams.
He's active, so yeah, I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will today. So, Coach Lynn says Tutu Atwell can run. He does have the dropsies, though. We could use a couple of those dropsies today, no doubt about it.
I highlighted that one because it made me think of our emphasis on defense that we always talk about, about rallying to the ball carrier, creating turnovers, those kind of things. So if you got a guy who's, catching balls and, is a threat to run, but has struggled securing those catches, man, we got to be aggressive with our corners today against him.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. Got a couple things coming in here. Let me drop this down, and we'll get just a shot of Jordan Love on the field wearing the Crucial Catch hoodie here from earlier today as he was down there kind of testing everything out pregame. Pretty cool that the NFL has these programs for Crucial Catch, stuff like that, making, bringing awareness to really important causes for sure. Coach Lynn says that Vikings offense looked very different when Jones went out in the second half. I agree, Coach. Now their backup, Chandler, he's not a bad back, but man, Aaron Jones, when he's been healthy this year, obviously it's the first time he's missed to the best of my knowledge this season. He's still got every ounce of ability he's ever had. I don't think Chandler's nowhere near what Aaron is. And I completely agree. And that's something that I think as a fan base, sometimes we don't really focus on that much, Tim, is when a player goes out of the game, now you've got to kind of change up, what you're doing schematically and within the game plan. You know what I mean?
Especially with running backs, right? Because you've got different types of backs. Not everyone's super versatile like an Aaron Jones. You've got guys that are more battering rams or downhill runners, between the tackle runners versus being threats off the edge or, in space in the passing game, these kind of things. So yeah, man, you cannot undervalue guys like Aaron Jones and how it can affect your game plan. That's the same for Josh Jacobs on our side, right? If we were down a back and we're in that situation, game plan might have been run heavy. You may have to, avert from that and run something else. That's one of the reasons they print those call sheets throughout the game, right, Clayton? You got to make your adjustments, and a lot of times coming out of halftime, you got a whole new call sheet and you've tweaked your game plan. It's the teams that aren't willing to adapt and to keep banging their head against the wall that struggle. So
yeah, no doubt about it.
True statement for sure.
Definitely. R.E. Iron Miner Wilson needs more touches. I have no problem with that. Now, there's going to be a portion of the Packer fan base that every time Josh Jacobs doesn't have 32 touches, they're going to be going, why the hell did we get rid of Aaron Jones if we ain't going to run this younger bell cow back? Everybody that was saying he's going to be a bell cow, I just rolled my eyes. I'm like, Mark Tauscher said it like, I think they're going to use him as a bell cow. And I'm going, Matt LaFleur going to use a bell cow? We've seen it against Indy, but man, since then, obviously the pass protection that we picked up on that in the post-game presser last week, Tim, and it was a real thing. Matt essentially pulled Josh Jacobs out of the game because he blew a blocking assignment. And I think Stenovich doubled down. OC Stenovich actually said, yeah, no, he's a good pass blocker when he's blocking the right person. Everybody went, oh, that hurt. Right?
Yep.
So that's obviously why they took him out of the game last week.
Yeah, and you could see Jacobs was a little frustrated, but he's a pro, man, and he can take that constructive criticism. That's part of being an NFL player, right? And like you always say, when coaches talk to the media, they're talking to their players, they're talking to their team. And you know how Steno rolls, right? He's not going to pull any punches. So, I love it. And if anything, we're going to see Josh Jacobs respond in a big way, I think, today.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's see what else we got here. Jen Wright says balanced attack with Jacobs and Wilson too. There you go. Split the carries, keep everybody fresh. Nobody gets banged up. She said, let's go 4-0 this quarter of the season. Amen. You go 4-0 this quarter of the season, I would be back to 10 to 13 win, right? Maybe even closer to 11 because that means you're getting hot mid-season, hitting your stride. That would be absolutely awesome, Jen, no doubt about it. She went on to say Matt LaFleur cooks McVay again today. It's pretty wild to think about that one of LaFleur's mentors is, obviously undefeated against, that guy in Sean McVay. Pretty interesting, man, really. It kind of makes you wonder, like, why has he had his number? And, listen, I know the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, it feels like on the surface they've dominated us, but I know we've won a couple times in regular season play. It's just always the playoffs that Shanahan has the upper hand on the floor, but we kind of hit on that already. Nova says, bam, I'm here, as no one cares, LOL. Hey, join the club, Nova. Nobody cares that I'm here either, buddy. All right, but we're still hanging on. Coach Lynn, Oladapo is available today, ? Put him at mock linebacker. I love it. Absolutely. You can tell we're getting close to kickoff. Now we're reaching deep down into the bag here. Right?
I love it.
Oh, man. Anything else you wanted to hit on, Tim? Anything else come to mind as far as the game? Anything I might have missed during the week? Anything at all, man?
No, I think we were pretty thorough this week, man. I know I missed a couple of days. I was able to catch up on some stuff and really got some good info. And I think we know what the focus is going into this game. And like I said, I think this guy's he's ready to roll, man. I think we're going to see it open up the playbook. Tupac LaFleur and Jay Money show in LA, live from LA today. Enjoy the game. I think the Packers are going to – this is a get-right game. Both teams need one. This is why you love the NFL football, right? You got two teams right here that, we talk about some player or some teams that have great records right now, and they maybe are a little suspect. Maybe they're not as good as their records. I think with the Rams and the Packers, I think their records don't reflect their talent level at all. Obviously, two banged-up teams, but two well-coached teams, two great quarterbacks, and, the capability for all intents and purposes to have a hell of a close game today. So, I'm just fired up for this one. I don't think we missed anything, man. I think we just got to not make those mistakes we made last week, man. We got to get out after this one early. We can't let's let the game develop or let's settle in. Man, the hell with that. Let's roll up in there. Tupac LaFleur, all eyes on me. Let's go.
All eyes on me. I love it. So it looks like, if I'm looking at this correctly, the Bears scored again. So I think it's technically 36-10 now as they're boat racing the Panthers. Just to kind of go around the league real quick. 4:39 left in the fourth quarter. The Bengals are leading the Ravens 38-35. If you had the over in that, I'm sure you did pretty well. The Dolphins and Patriots. The Dolphins are currently leading the Patriots 15-10, although the Patriots have the ball right at the 2-minute warning here. Browns are getting absolutely boat raced by the Commanders 34-6. There is 8:29 left in that game. And then we got the Colts and the Jags. Is going to be a good finish here. It's tied up 34-34. What a high-scoring game that one is. Only 2:40 left in that. And then the Bills and the Texans are now tied up. I think the Texans were winning like 17-3 going into halftime. The Bills have roared back and tied it up. Obviously, Josh Allen making things happen. There's 3:18 left in that ball game. So with your 4 o'clock kickoffs, you're going to be kicking off in about 10 minutes. You got Raiders at the Broncos, Cardinals at the 49ers, and, of course, at 4:25, the game of the week for CBS. These are Eastern times, by the way. Some of you guys are looking at me going, what are you talking about, Glenn? You drunk? I'm over here on the East Coast, and that's the time that it's set to. You get the Packers at the Rams, 4:25 kickoff. Then you got the Giants at the Seahawks. I'm sure the Seahawks should come away and win that one fairly easy. And then for Sunday Night Football tonight, you've got the Cowboys at the Steelers. That's going to be a fun one.
That's
going to Cowboys are kind of on their heels, aren't they, man?
Yeah, absolutely. And, the Steelers are playing really good football as per usual. So that's going to be a great matchup, really. And I believe, the Lions are on the bye week this week, I believe. And so their next opponent would be Dallas, I think, next Sunday. So, if the Cowboys catch that L today from the Steelers, morale's going to be pretty low going into that matchup against a tough Lions team. So hopefully that'll bode well for us, and the Cowboys would be fired up and maybe steal the win from the Lions. But like I said earlier, I don't think any of our division rivals are going to do us any favors this year. We got to just focus on our work,
Yeah, absolutely. If y'all would hit that like button for us, help boost that algorithm, help other Packer fans find this channel, find this content. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us as we're getting ready to kick off here in roughly 30 minutes, a little less than 30 minutes away. So obviously the games that are already completed, the Vikings defeated the Jets today in London 23-17. And then you had the Falcons beat the Buccaneers on Thursday 36-30. All right. So there you go.
That was a heck of a game there. Nice finish to that game.
I'm still trying to figure out. It looked like there might have been a fight in Chicago. There's
a fight in Chicago? What? That never happens.
It's such a good point. It's such a good point. But they've been showing them shoving in slow motion in the end zone for, I don't know, the last 15 minutes, and the score hasn't changed on ESPN sticker. I'm trying to figure out what the heck's going on. There's laundry everywhere. A bear threw a punch there. Okay, I see it.
Like I said, man, very, very uncharacteristic for Chicago.
Yeah. So that was Pryor. It looked like offensive lineman Pryor was the one who got kicked out. So it looked like they're just escorting a few players off the field here is all that's going on. So you should see highlights on that later. Now you see the score is updated 36-10 there. So anything else, bub? Anything else at all? We'll get out of here.
Yeah. Dub incoming, all gas, no brakes. I love it. Just like Pivot says here in the chat. We need to bring that back. We got to get Tupac LaFleur on the line and bring back the all gas, no brake. We really need that mentality. Play 4 quarters of football. Last week we played 2 quarters of football. We need to play 4 quarters. I like Coach Lane in the chat. You stay classy, Chicago.
So true. Ari Ironminer, got to go, guys. Beautiful work. Go Pack, go. Appreciate you, buddy. I know Nick McSwain was hanging out. Go Pack, go. Venom, go Pack, go. Appreciate everybody making us part of your pregame festivities. We will be back immediately following the game for the Packers Total Access postgame show. We'll be bringing you news, notes, stats, highlights, all that good stuff, kind of get you caught up on what happened, and you'll get some emotional reaction from us knucklehead fans. That always happens, right? So feel free to drop in as we wind down this beautiful, glorious Sunday afternoon, hopefully with the Packers dub out in L.A. So with that being said, help me out here, Tim.
Oh, is that what you? Oh,
that's that's just as good as any right there, man.
Yeah, man, I love it. To live and die in LA, baby. Let's go, Pack, go. Green and gold till we're dead and cold. We need this dub. Let's go.
For those of you listening on the pod,
thank you for making us part of your day.
Oh, we're gonna give him some.
As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world.
Took it down the sideline, turned over with my guys, gave the football to a little kid wearing 23.
And go Pack.
Cheese curds make my stomach hurt all the time, but I do eat them though.
Go. See y'all.